Well, the Income Tax Act has a section called 43B, which a lot of us, or mostly people who are having tax audit requirements, would be aware of. Basically, there are certain payments that are allowed only when we actually pay them. For example, say tax payments. If there is a TDS, a tax at source that needs to be deducted, if we have not deposited it before filing our return for that year, we cannot claim that as an expense in the income tax return. So similar to that, the MSME Acts provides certain benefits to when people who are registered under the MSME Act, or entities, I would say, who are registered under the MSMED Act. Now, this particular section 15 of the MSMED Act 2006 says that any buyer who is buying from an MSME vendor will have to make payment to them in either 15 or 45 days. The conditions are stated here. So if you have a written agreement for services or goods, the payment for that needs to be received within 45 days if you have a written agreement. I would like to point one thing out. If you are dealing with an MSME, or you are an MSME, any payment agreement for your services or goods that exceeds 45 days is void. It is not applicable. It is not enforceable. So the max payment terms for an MSME is 45 days. So you need to make the payment to that vendor within 45 days. And if you are an MSME, you need to take that payment within 45 days. But the caveat is you need to have a written agreement for this. However, in case there is no written agreement, the terms are 15 days. That means if I buy something from an MSME vendor, I need to make the payment within 15 days if I do not have a written agreement. So now what the income tax law says, if I do not adhere to these terms of 15 and 45 days, depending upon if I have a contract or if I don't have a contract, I will not get benefit of that payment that I'm making. Basically, it will not reduce my profits. It will not be considered as an expense. So this is something that has been brought on from this year, 23-24, the current financial year that is going on. So it is very important for all of us to identify the vendors that we are dealing with, if they fall under the definition of micro, small, and medium, and also take written confirmations from them. Every MSMED vendor has a certificate that they can provide to you. So for businesses, practical steps that they need to make is, because for business it's important, because if you have not made the payment within these particular number of days, you will not get that as an expense in your profit and loss account. It will be disallowed or added back to your income. So at the time of purchase only, you need to obtain a declaration from your vendor stating whether they are micro, medium, small. How and of course this should be accurately documented, because your tax auditors at the end of the year are going to ask for this information, right? And of course, you should be reviewing the payments, the terms, the number of days within which you're making payment to your MSME vendors, and also if you have a written contract or not with them. So all of this is a requirement that a business dealing with an MSME vendor has to take. Now, if you are an MSME, you know that you should receive your payment within 15 days. Else, well, you can also go ahead and demand interest. If you do not receive a payment within 15 days, you have no written agreement, you are an MSME registered vendor, you can go ahead and demand interest from the person you're dealing with under this act also. So this is one perspective. However, one caveat here, these restrictions, disallowances are applicable only to micro and small, not medium. So the act covers MSME, which is micro, small, and medium, but the terms of 15, 45 days, that if you do not make payment to them, the expense will be disallowed, or you can go ahead and demand interest, is possible only if you are either micro or you are small. It is not applicable if you are medium. So these are certain changes. Well, if somebody asks me what is the definition of micro and small, so micro usually was, I think I have it out here also. Micro is usually somebody whose investment in plant and machinery doesn't, and turnover does not exceed 5 CR. That's a micro entity, and a small entity is 10 and 50. That's the condition that we have over here. So, well, I mean, I hope you guys are going to find this useful. And also, one thing, if this is only applicable if it's fixed, if you buy a fixed asset for which you don't have to claim any expense, it will be capitalized in your books. These provisions are not applicable because, of course, if it's not your expense, it cannot be added back to your income. So, well, I hope if you are an MSME yourself or you're dealing with MSMEs, this is something that you need to be aware of. And well, that's it. Thank you.